Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle their entire lives? What if the answer has been sitting on your bookshelf all along? Welcome to Wisdom Files. I'm glad you're here today as we dive into something that could genuinely transform your relationship with money. If you find value in uncovering ancient wisdom for modern living, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our weekly explorations. Today we're tackling a fascinating topic: the financial principles hidden in plain sight within Scripture. These aren't just religious concepts, they're practical wisdom that has created more lasting wealth than all the Wall Street strategies combined. You know, we're constantly bombarded with get-rich-quick schemes, investment gurus, and financial advice from every direction. But what if I told you that thousands of years ago, God already laid out principles for wealth and prosperity that still work today? That's right. The ancient wisdom found in Scripture contains financial principles so powerful that they've stood the test of time through wars, depressions, and every economic system imaginable. And the crazy thing? Most people have no idea these principles are right there in black and white. So grab something to write with, because today we're diving deep into what God has already told us about building wealth. These aren't just religious platitudes, these are practical, actionable principles that have created generational abundance for countless people. Let's start with a fundamental truth: God isn't against wealth. I've heard so many people say that money is the root of all evil, but that's not what Scripture says. The actual quote is, "The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil." There's a massive difference there. The issue isn't having resources, it's your relationship with those resources. In fact, throughout Scripture, we see that God blessed many faithful people with incredible abundance. Abraham, Solomon, Job, these weren't just spiritually rich people, they had material wealth that would make today's billionaires jealous. So clearly, wealth itself isn't the problem. But here's what's fascinating: the principles that led to their prosperity are the same ones we can apply today. First, the principle of diligent work. Proverbs is absolutely packed with verses about diligence. The hand of the diligent makes rich, it says. In another place, whoever works his land will have plenty of bread. This isn't complicated: show up, put in the effort, be excellent at what you do. There's no substitute for hard work. I recently read about a study from the University of Pennsylvania that found the single biggest predictor of financial success wasn't intelligence or connections, it was grit. The ability to stick with something and work consistently. That's exactly what these ancient texts were teaching thousands of years ago. The second principle is delayed gratification. Scripture repeatedly warns against the dangers of immediate pleasure at the expense of future gain. The borrower is slave to the lender. That's a powerful image, right? When we choose immediate gratification through debt or consumption rather than saving and investing, we're essentially putting ourselves in bondage. Research from Stanford, you might have heard of the famous marshmallow experiment, shows that children who could delay gratification had higher SAT scores, lower levels of substance abuse, lower likelihood of obesity, better responses to stress, and yes, better financial outcomes as adults. Again, ancient wisdom confirmed by modern science. If you're finding these insights helpful, take a second to hit that like button. It really helps the channel reach more people who could benefit from this wisdom. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Now, let's continue with our third principle: generosity. This one seems counterintuitive, right? How does giving away money make you wealthy? But Scripture repeatedly promises that generous giving leads to receiving. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. And it's not just about karma or some mystical force, generosity works on practical levels too. When you give generously, you build relationships and social capital. You develop a reputation for being trustworthy. You create networks of mutual support. These are tangible assets that lead to opportunities. Plus, studies show that generous people experience less stress and better mental health, which directly impacts your ability to build wealth. The fourth principle is wisdom in counsel. Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors they succeed. Scripture repeatedly emphasizes the importance of seeking wise advice. The wealthiest people I know all have mentors, coaches, and advisors they trust. They're not trying to figure everything out alone. Think about it, if you want to climb a mountain, wouldn't you want a guide who's been there before? If you want to build wealth, doesn't it make sense to learn from those who've already done it? This principle alone could save you decades of trial and error. Fifth, we have the principle of avoiding waste. Jesus himself demonstrated this when, after feeding thousands with just a few loaves and fish, he instructed his disciples to gather the fragments left over, that nothing may be lost. Even in the midst of miraculous abundance, waste was not acceptable. This applies directly to our modern financial lives. The average American wastes about $1,600 worth of food per year. We waste money on unused subscriptions, inefficient energy use, impulse purchases. Imagine if you captured all that waste and invested it instead. At a modest 8% return, just saving that $1,600 in food waste each year would give you over $300,000 after 40 years. That's the power of avoiding waste. The sixth principle is perhaps my favorite, the principle of sowing and reaping. Whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. This agricultural metaphor appears throughout Scripture, and it perfectly captures how wealth actually works. Every farmer understands you can't harvest what you haven't planted. And there's always a season between planting and harvesting. This is exactly how investing works. You plant seeds, your money, into assets that grow over time. You can't rush the harvest, it takes patience. But the universal law remains, you reap what you sow. Finally, the seventh principle, stewardship. Scripture teaches that everything ultimately belongs to God, and we're merely stewards or managers of resources that aren't truly ours. This mindset completely transforms how we handle money. When you see yourself as a steward rather than an owner, you make decisions with greater care and responsibility. You consider the impact of your financial choices on others and on future generations. You're less likely to squander resources on temporary pleasures and more likely to build something lasting. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. These are just general principles, where's the specific financial advice? But that's exactly the point. These principles transcend specific financial instruments or economic systems. They worked in ancient agricultural societies, they worked in industrial economies, and they work in our digital age. The specific applications change. Solomon wasn't investing in index funds or starting an online business, but the principles remain constant. Diligence, delayed gratification, generosity, wise counsel, avoiding waste, sowing and reaping, and stewardship. These are the bedrock of true, lasting wealth. Let me share a personal story. A few years ago, I was struggling financially. I had decent income but somehow always ended up with more month than money. I was stressed, anxious, and honestly, a bit resentful. I found myself wondering why God wasn't blessing me financially despite my faith. Then I started seriously studying these biblical principles of wealth. I realized I was violating nearly all of them. I wasn't being diligent with tracking my spending. I was choosing immediate gratification through credit card debt. I wasn't giving generously. I wasn't seeking wise counsel about money. I was wasting resources. I wasn't consistently investing. And I definitely wasn't viewing myself as a steward of God's resources. When I started aligning my financial life with these principles, everything changed. Not overnight. Remember, the principle of sowing and reaping takes time, but steadily and surely. Within 3 years, I was debt-free except for my mortgage. Within 5 years, I had 6 months of expenses saved and was consistently investing. Now, I'm on track for financial independence well before traditional retirement age. And the crazy thing? I never hit the lottery. I never got some massive inheritance or windfall. I simply applied these ancient principles in modern ways, consistently, over time. That's the power of divine wisdom. Now, I want to be clear about something. These principles aren't a guarantee of material riches. Scripture also teaches that true wealth isn't measured by the abundance of possessions. Some of the most faithful people throughout history lived very simply. The ultimate goal isn't to die with the biggest pile of money, it's to live a life of purpose, impact, and faithfulness. But these principles do provide a path to financial stability and eventual prosperity when applied consistently. They protect us from the financial chaos that plagues so many lives. They give us resources to care for our families, support causes we believe in, and leave a legacy for future generations. So what does this mean for you, right now? I'd suggest starting with an honest assessment. Which of these 7 principles are you already practicing? Which ones need work? Maybe you're great at working diligently, but struggle with delayed gratification. Or perhaps you're generous but haven't sought wise counsel about your finances. Identify one principle you can focus on implementing this week. Just one. Maybe it's setting up that automatic investment you've been putting off. Maybe it's finding a financial mentor. Maybe it's tracking your expenses to eliminate waste. Whatever it is, take that first step. Remember, wealth building isn't about dramatic overnight changes, it's about consistent application of correct principles over time. That's what the ancient wisdom teaches us. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these principles resonates with you the most? Are there other financial principles from Scripture that have impacted your life? Let's learn from each other and build a community of people applying this ancient wisdom in our modern world. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button, share with someone who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe to Wisdom Files for more content at the intersection of faith and practical living. Until next time, remember, the wisdom for wealth has been there all along. We just need the courage and consistency to apply it.